Hello and welcome back to Outhoused Studio Devlogs.
This time, it's been a few months since our last progress update, and this is a video announcing happily that we're still here and working. The reason we stopped posting videos was simply because the one making these videos, that's me, is one of only two devs who are both working full-time positions and working on this game part-time. So in the end, we simply chose to prioritize the actual programming over the devlogs for the time being. That being said, since the last progress update, we've got a bunch of stuff to present now. Today's video is going to be in a slightly different format from the other videos in that it's going to be more long form. Posting videos too frequently represented too much effort for me to do this in conjunction with the programming. In our last video, we talked about how we were working on our skill selection UI and how we were refactoring our data. We have since completed this refactor and skill selection UI. The goal of the refactor was to find a way to separate character current status from the character's associated scriptable object, and we've achieved this. In order to test how to apply skills to characters, we started making instances of characters from their scriptable objects to separate the in-scene character data from the character's scriptable object. We made a test scene to allow us to select individual skills, who's casting them, as well as who the target is. From there, we worked on applying some status effects and damage to characters. All the functionality we shared from our test scene to the actual battle scene, and everything's working properly. The reason we split off and made this test scene was because it can quickly get overwhelming to try and work on a specific feature when you're surrounded by everything else in the scene that's doing its own thing. So the objective was to create an isolated environment that we could later extend to the battle scene. We've also started updating character health and status effects, and we can now see this displayed in the UI in the battle scene. Another thing we've added to the UI is character position. It's now possible for us to change the position a character is associated to, and for this to affect the UI visual. We also made an update to the manner in which characters are moved along the ATB bar. We were seeing a bug before where it would be possible for two characters to essentially reach the skill selection phase at the same time, and this was resulting in UI being generated twice, as well as just generally breaking the combat flow. We restructured the flow of the combat to flow outwards from data updates and make it such that if a character reaches the skill selection phase, it's impossible for other characters to make any progress along the ATB bar. In other news, we've defined rigs for each of our MVP characters. It's a quick thing to say, but it took a lot of effort to add each of these rigs to the character models. So in other words, we've defined rigs for the Knight, Hunter, Rogue, Wizard, Brutal Brawler, and Lobster. Now we're able to use these rigs to make simple animations. We've made idle animations for each of the characters, and it's looking really good so far. We also defined a new enemy type, we called it the Lobster, and gave him his own corresponding mesh and sprites. We've also defined some visual effects for the Lobster's attacks. These work in conjunction with the sprite animations we've defined for the Lobster, and look amazing. With respect to attack animations, we also started defining attack animations which are defined by the chosen skill cast by a character. The camera will zoom in on the participants and the combatants will be shown in a sprite associated to the chosen skill. This could be an attacking sprite, a sprite of receiving damage, or a buff sprite, and so on and so forth. This style was very much inspired by Darkest Dungeon. We loved how they were able to convey this sense of battle and movement, basically by sliding some really great looking sprites around along with some damage numbers. It's a very simple and effective strategy. Combined with the VFX we're creating alongside each given skill, we're achieving a really great look in our game right now. Up until recently, we'd been casting skills for the enemy the same way it's done for the playable characters. In other words, when the enemy reached the skill selection phase, we would manually select the skills they were choosing. But more recently, we started defining a really basic enemy AI to select the skills we want to be used. Everything works properly, but slowly we want to start developing a more robust and deep AI solution. Next on the roadmap for us is going to be to finish up the enemy AI, finish developing the skill visuals, and finally create an update scene from which we can continue to initialize the battle experience. And all this combined is going to allow us to finally complete our MVP.
On behalf of Outhouse Studios, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and we'll catch you next time.